Well, that's a good thing he's sitting over there. Yeah.
So, I was reading your bio. It's very, very, and this is an issue that is very dear to our heart at the School of Hospitality here, internationalization. And you started on that journey right when you were very, very young. At the age of 4, you left your country and went through multiple countries before landing in the US at the age of 17. So how was that experience? Every time you change school system, friends, languages, you know, the entire system. So how was that experience growing up? And what did you take away from that?
In terms of the change, well, thank you. It's great to be here. And I need to tell you, I have been looking forward to this session. I checked in this morning with home base, with our chief lawyer, our general counsel, 2 law firms, all is well. So I'm very chilled, and we can go anywhere you want. You know, in a world where diversity is so important to include everybody and create opportunity, those experiences were very helpful in my life, because change does create tension, but it creates growth and character building. And so I wouldn't change a thing. Yes, you did have to go into a different school system. And I have to tell you that, you know, when I was in school in Geneva, Switzerland, I left Cairo when I was 4 years old. You know, we had to operate and be taught in dual languages, one of which I didn't speak too well, you know, French, and at the time. And so it was hard, but you helped you early in life to persevere, because all that comes before you later is changes and crossroads and the like. So I have to tell you, it helped me a lot. And I was very enamored with the United States and ended up coming to Boston.
Fantastic. I mean, I can just imagine at 4 years old, when I would take my kids anywhere. We go to New York City, and so just, you know, what goes on in the mind of a 4-year-old when you tell them you're going somewhere? Okay, is that like Walmart, or
you follow your parents? You know, you trust them, and you know, the world has changed where, you know, everyone has opinion. You know, I mean, you know, when you're growing up in an international family and you're moving countries or systems, you know, you follow suit, and then you make the best of it. You know.
So you were 17 when you came to the United States. Did you do any part of high school, a year or two?
No, I went to an American high school in London, and then I from there came to Boston. And you know, the selection of Boston actually was a very typical story that I tell many people is still amongst us today, which is in many international families. Which is, you know, first of all, there wasn't the internet and all the technology. And so from the college office in high school, some recommended schools were suggested. And one at the time, some of you have heard this, was Berkeley in California. And another was Northwestern. And another one was something else. And then there was Boston. And what happens typically is a family meeting is called. So everyone's at the dining room, and my father, who was a tough kind of Exxon executive, Berkeley comes up. I'm not flying twice to see you. Okay. All right. Okay. Then Northwestern, why do you want to be a pilot? I know, I'm confused. You know, like, it's not what we're doing. I was on the waiting list for Wharton, which happened to be also an all-girls school in southern England. And so my brother was on the floor rolling. And then Boston came up, and it was like, Boston. Yes, we're going to Boston. And that's a wonderful place. And as a family, we all just, almost like the film Coming to America, everyone boarded the jet, came to Boston in the summer. My father made the dean come in the summer period, and he delivered his son like an Uber Eats package, okay, and said, "Here you are, you know, is my son, and you know, take care, and we'll be back at some point in time." No one was here in the summer, okay, and you know, the silliness of it all. And it was a fantastic decision, because a lot of families to this day, and you need to understand this internationally, look at Boston this way. To this day, they think of University of Tokyo, they think of big universities in big cities that have culture and prominence. And that was the reaction then, and that's how it happened. There was none of this touring where you have an opinion, it was more, we're going there. And it was a great decision.
I just love that family meeting, and they arrived at the right decision. So
yeah, it worked well.
Fantastic. So now you are here in the summer, no one is around. At some point, you've got to now start deciding what courses to take, what school to go in. So how did you get to decide what you were doing and what you were studying at BU?
Well, I'm going to backtrack just a second and loop it. I, since the age of 12, 13, was very enamored with hospitality and hotels and restaurants and so forth. And when we'd go on holidays, I would, hang out at check-in and look at how people went to the pools, and, and others were just doing bombs in the pool and, doing whatever they were doing. And I wanted, and I looked into the Hotel Management School of Lausanne, Switzerland, since I lived in Europe, and talked to my father about it. And he thought that was the dumbest blank idea, he ever heard, parents, and so that didn't happen. But instead we started talking about business schools, and I was favoring, first of all, business, because I loved math and quantitative elements, but not enough. And I loved the humanities side, but I also not enough. And I liked very much people and people interaction. And I thought business could give me that element. So here in Boston, the hospitality piece, which entered my life later on, I'm sure we'll get to. Here in Boston, you start looking at courses and finance and so forth. And, first of all, as you know, the first year and a half, 2 years, they're set programs,
right.
But then I started to lean towards corporate finance, which I think was very formative then, and took interest in it. And that's the courses I took.
So, I finished your degree and you entered the world of high finance, and you were there for quite a number of years.
Yes.
So can you sort of tell us some highlights from that time? What did you like, and what some of the things that you enjoyed doing in finance?
Well, first of all, it doesn't happen as much anymore, but I went from Boston to Columbia Business School. And after Columbia Business School, I went into the workforce. And I tell you that because my heart was always with Boston, and this is why you see me here. There's other schools, there's other people who compete. But then I joined the workforce, and I joined Merrill Lynch, which some of you may know is a big financial services firm, global firm. And I ultimately became president, as was mentioned, and chief operating officer. It was an incredible journey. I was there for 20 years. Of those 20 years, 12, 13 were outside the United States. So a lot of my mandate, in a sense, was to build the international organization around the world. And in a sense, what Boston is doing as well, globalize the firm.
Right.
And start to bring cultures together and the like. I lived in Europe for 4 years, and in Asia about 10. And it was remarkable to go back to London, not as a student, and making some money. So every damn place I couldn't get into, I was eating in restaurants and partying, So it was great to experience that element. And then I thought I was going to go back to the United States, but I went 12, 13 hours eastward to Tokyo, and to build the business there, and ultimately ran the Asia Group, was COO for Asia before I came back to the United States. So the experiences were very varied. It was an opportunity to manage and relate and influence where I could, and learn at the same time other cultures and other viewpoints, and what makes people tick in their own lives. So it really gave me an opportunity to see the world from an extremely different vantage point. And a lot of people somehow never get the chance to live in Asia or to go to Asia. It's far.
Right.
And it required also a different kind of resiliency, because most of the time while we were building the business, everyone here was asleep. So it required you couldn't say nice tie, can I go to your wedding, all these things to chum up to bosses. So you really learned you have to perform and you have to make a business work, because it's you weren't part of the community as much. So I learned a lot from that, for
and
sure.
That international element sort of continued the theme in your life, which is from childhood all the way. A few years in the US and then now back.
For sure. And it was very rewarding.
So I think most of us here are more interested in the next chapter of your life, which is when you pivoted from high finance to fine dining. And so the question is, when you left that industry, finance, you could have gone to any, this whole world was open to you. How did you think about getting into the restaurant industry?
Yeah. Well, first of all, two things. The seed around hospitality and enjoyment around it never went away. It was just not watered, for all this time. And even at board meetings, I would be very particular on the food and the wines, so, you had to have that element. But I'll tell you something. When you are, first of all, president of a big Wall Street firm, there's 60,000 people in 45 countries. It's very complicated. You become, more than anything, the head therapist for the place. I mean, some of the deans may feel that way in their job, right?
We all do.
And competing forces, and there is very important matrix management. So the head of Europe may not fit in nicely with the head of fixed income, who runs the institution globally. There's a lot of elements of that, but I loved it. However, it's very important, because I can see it in other people. I didn't want to be CEO. It was going to be more therapy, more time in Washington. I already had 1/3 of my time with the board, or a quarter. 1/3 of my time, or relative in that space, with regulators all over the world. Okay, then another 1/3 with the business, and I mean, so you're constantly holding that. And I wanted to do something else. And my kids were 3 and 6 years old, and I wanted to be a different kind of father. And I would go to bed with Asia, wake up with Europe, work the day with the Americas, and do it again.
Right.
And in Wall Street, you're really playing 5 pinball machines at the same time. So it has that level of intensity the whole time. So I'm going to tell you something. I then wanted, the Earth, Moon, and the Sun were all lining. It was almost turning to 20 years. I was going to be 50 shortly or soon. I felt it's time to reconsider what I wanted to do. And the way it is in this business, yes, some interesting offers came our way, and most of the people I worked with started saying, "Where are we going? Which other bank? You may have, that's what happens." Right. And and it was like 300-400 people we're talking about. So I realized I was leaning that way or thinking about that because of them, not because of me. And so I did something a little daring. I gave it all up and decided to try to reinvent myself in an area that I first loved, or thought I did, and took a chance on being an entrepreneur and leaving that whole side to that chapter. So yes, there were opportunities, because, believe it or not, for those of you who are considering traveling to international or taking assignments international, that was one of the most alluring things that everyone wanted, whether it was a corporation or a bank or whatever, is, can he build our international business? Can he sort this out? It wasn't a vertical thing that was happening domestically. But I decided to do that, and that's how I got into it.
So So you are now in the restaurant industry and creating a beautiful, financially successful restaurant. It's a multi-step process. There's so many things: the site selection, what kind of cuisine you're going to put in, what kind of chef you're going to partner with, what is your vision for the service, branding, marketing.
Yeah.
So what is your process? How do you create a new restaurant?
Well, first of all, it took a lot of study on my part to understand the business. It's a very different employee base. It's a very different tempo. It requires a lot of creativity. You have to have a true passion for it. I don't recommend it for anyone who doesn't have that passion, because there are several dark moments, frankly. As a businessman, the business is tight margins. It is litigious. It has a lot of turnover. It has a lot of, and as we say, you can die with 1,000 cuts. So the reality of this business, not the glamour of it. I was like you, a client all my life, and I'd gone to a beautiful restaurant, and people bring you things and they smile to you, whatever. I never knew where those 100 people ate, or when they dressed, or how they talk to each other with respect, or when they got a chance to be considered a certain way. You just walk in, and some of you may go into a restaurant and things happen. Well, underneath in the basement and other areas, it's a remake of a whole film going on, And so first I had to learn that, to your question. But there's no doubt that the business acumen that you learn was very formative and important. So in the hotel business, the restaurant business, and anything on the hospitality side, no matter how complicated it is, if you can get the real estate piece right, if you can get the financing piece right, okay, if you can get your pricing right, if you can get your marketing right. I didn't even say the word food yet. I didn't even describe the dish. I didn't even describe the wine, the vineyard. So first of all, how do? You first had to get your mind around that. And I think in our group, we're a boutique firm still, but I think fortunately we're regarded as a very high momentum and high IQ firm. What does that mean? We model everything, so our COO is from JP Morgan, and our head of development was a Wharton graduate. I mean, it's weird, they have to love food too, and they want to raise their hands and so forth. But we model everything. So some of you may say, oh, the restaurant business, you lose so much cash leaves the door all the time. Many people say that, right? We've probably in the last 12 years lost almost nothing on that. Why is that? Because we model everything. We know how many drinks come out of a Grey Goose bottle. We know what the food cost is. So if the food cost goes up, then someone's giving it away or taking food home. And we know, if we buy X, we even trade. We'll buy 750 bottles of Grey Goose or 1,000, have the Grey Goose people store it for us because we can't. We'll model how many we need. We'll get an incredible discount before the other discounts because of scale. And all you want to see is the geese on the bottle. Okay? You don't care behind that there's massive gymnastics in financial acumen going on. So when you ask the question, how do you do it? First, I realized the margins are tight, the efficiency player and the employer of choice can win. I mean, not just saying, oh, I love this product and they're gonna love it, okay? Many of you people will say, oh, I love your chicken with white wine sauce, I love your tacos, you should open a place. Wrong. First, understand the pieces. And the second thing besides efficiency and acumen is the client. You reverse engineer everything from the client. It has to be, product push a little bit, but demand pull a lot. Where's the market? How do people want to eat? Are they interested in appetizers more? What is the price point they will pay for? How do they want to congregate? How does tech play into everything that's going on? So if you look at the client and you look at the efficiency dynamic, you can start to open a place and think about it and have a chance to win. And still, things can go wrong.
Right.
But I wanted to tell you that how you think about it has to be not just the emotion of it, but the head and the heart and the combination of thoughtful planning.
That's incredible. I'm sure the faculty here are listening, and I'm sure you're on the invite list for many faculty for guest lectures in their classroom.
It's going to cost you, but
He's a businessman.
Right.
So what part of all of this journey of creating a restaurant do you get most excited about doing? Or the financial planning? I mean, we've not even talked about the menu and working with chefs and creating the concept yet. So,
first of all, I tell our people, and by the way, I'm a lot older, than the average age that works for me is like 30 years old. Okay, so I'm learning from them all the time, and it's a pleasure to develop them as well, and make sure they don't see too many ghosts and demons, which happens when they're a bit younger. You think things are wrong when they're not as bad as you think, and so forth. So I try to give that steady hand, but I tell them we're really in the business, so I'll say, what are we in the business of? And they'll say, oh, F&B, food and beverage. No, we're in the business of memories. Okay, we are in the business of memories. And I would venture to say almost everybody in this room has had a moment with a family, with a loved one, with a friend, with whomever, a colleague, in a restaurant. It could have been a slice of pizza, but there's something about that where things happen in these moments, and then people remember either directly or through subliminal elements that experience. Okay, so one of the things I love the most still, when there's not something going on wrong, or someone suing me because they claimed they fell when they didn't, and all of these other silly things that comes with a more complicated business, is seeing a niece and an aunt who haven't seen each other after a long time, or COVID or whatever, seeing someone young close a deal, seeing people, maybe someone proposing to someone in the like, these are moments that you just think, wow, they picked us, and we did something that they really appreciate. So I still get a kick out of that. I didn't know when I left Merrill that I had all these creative juices in me. I mean, weird stuff was coming out. I could look at a menu font for 2 hours, and I start worrying about all the graphics and uniforms, and the detail of courtesy. You have to really get into it, because it's not a macro business, it's a business of detail.
Right.
So I really enjoy working with our team. I enjoy this memory element that we're extending to people, and at the end of the day, because of my core in business, people are giving us their money to us. So, how do we keep them doing that and have them say thank you as well? So, we got to remember is the client is so essential, and yet this business is so hazardous. How many of you gone to a restaurant that you love 6, 7, 8 times, and then you had a horrible experience once? You're usually done. You're in the car going home and go, I'm not going back, and you're still whatever. And teaching our staff how important that is, because half or 80% of the time when you're asked, how was your meal, when it wasn't that good, you go, oh, it's fine. It's pretty good. Then the cab, you are just obscenities coming out, and so I think how to get into that psychology of the consumer and understand that the odds are against you, and so consistency and quality is at a premium more than innovation. People fly from LA to have the fusilli at Marea. It was not the same way they tasted it long ago. Why is it that we have such impeccable, tight, sharp taste memory as humans? We do. You take one dish from your youth 30 years ago, you recognize it like that. You grow up in India, you'd know your mother's sag or dal in 2 seconds, or wherever you all are. We have that instant muscle memory around things, okay? So people know right away, instantly, if a dish is off. So I enjoy to your question, the elaborate consumer dynamic of it. I enjoy the memory creation. I enjoy brand creation, because at the end of the day, we are trying to build brands. You know, we've gotten our awards. We got tons. We don't need any more awards. In fact, they can be annoying half the time. Okay, worrying, are we going to get, you know, an award? I think we've done enough of that. Now it's all about the brand and the client and the consistency and the connectivity. And are we relevant? Are we evolving? Are we creating the next stage of the experience? Because right now, today, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a restaurateur. Food is only one of the important things that are going on in the world right now. Only one. Okay? It has to be fully experiential and multisensory. Okay? What's the lighting like? Soundtrack. I don't mean soundtrack for the evening. Every hour and a half. How does it evolve, this and that, whatever? Okay, you mentioned Marea, one of our restaurants. Well, people from Latin America walk in there at 10:45 p.m. and they apologize they're so early. Okay? and guess what? By the time they sit in, the room's a little darker, salsa music starts coming. You know, they don't know why they love it. Well, we know why they love it, because we make them love it. Okay? And so how do you make this a living organism is more important. You have to now stimulate all the senses. Smell of the restaurant or the cleanliness, the soundtrack, the visual appeal. Is there art in there? How does it feel? Do you feel warm? Whatever. Then the food better be good as well. And that's what's happened. It makes it a lot more complicated. And hotels have the same problem. Bigger, frankly. So that's what I would say. You know, it's complicated. It's enjoyable. To be part of the creation and creativity period. But as I even described to you, moving to multisensory, more experiential, people want to share plates more, whatever. If you don't watch this and evolve with it, you're out. So there's nothing, unless you have an incredible product, you know, whatever, you know, Neptune, lobster roll, and people will just line up, or Katz's Deli in New York. It's just you're having one pastrami, and it's a one trick pony, and they do it better than anyone. No, other than that, it is jump ball for risk, and that risk dynamic has to be managed the whole time.
That's incredible. I think everyone in the room, particularly the faculty, we've been talking about all of these issues, creating memorable experiences, and the business, the modeling, the psychology behind them. You know, we hire psychologists here, and we have a candidate here today as well. I mean, this is all music to our ears in terms of, you know, I think we might have to invite him more often here.
It'll cost you. But,
I heard that, yes. So, you know, I'm still fascinated by this pivot that you made from finance to, and there's one particular aspect that I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
In terms of average revenue per employee in the finance industry is much greater than an average revenue in our sector. So how does that enter into and how do you sort of look at that issue and say, here is someone generating so much, and here in restaurant it is not as much? How does that factor in your compensation decisions and so forth?
Well, you know, first of all, finance and hospitality are different industries, but there's similarities, and I'll get to the compensation. First of all, they're both client industries, you know, where the client and the client's affinity with you and your performance and brand are very important. The risk framework is very different. Okay, as I was telling, you know, if you're in Wall Street, it's like playing 5 pill bond machines, and you have to look at the markets the whole time. If you're pricing a new issue or a bond, you got to do it at a sliver of a cent. How you hedge around the world or how you move flows, it's complicated, you know. So this business has different kind of risk. It's not instant. You don't have to care for the balance sheet every minute, but you have other risks that has a longer tail, but it can have a immediate impact on you. So I would say managed risk, then shock waves that come in, and it could be someone fell or claims this, you know, there's always that, right? You know, we've had people say they got hurt, and then on the camera, they never were even there, you know, so there's a lot of naughtiness in it. And it can also be And when it comes to compensation, it can also be intermittent shock, like a big one, like the pandemic. Like that was just, I'm going to tell you, like we would not have made it through COVID if I didn't have my other background. Because it was at that point, no one cares about the chef and the cuisine and the wine and the sauces, whatever. It's a bloodbath with the banks, with the landlords, with the lawyers. You know, I mean, it became that. And the other risk element is the employee base is very volatile for the smallest and silliest things. We'll have a general manager of a main restaurant quit because people commented on his or her haircut, you know, and they're so offended by it, you know, I mean, they're going to leave for that. So I had to adjust to those things, or they leave to go to another competitor because they make $50,000 and they're going to pay them 52. Okay. And they feel that's an important, you know, in their lives. Okay. So it took me a while to get used to that. And I realized there's a human capital arbitrage in the restaurant industry, especially, that is amazing to capture, although there's always some bump in the road that slows me down in that journey. And people are not well treated. They don't have career paths. There's not enough investment in the people. They're not sure of themselves. They're younger people, you know, and so there's a tremendous opportunity versus complex organizations like Merrill or GE or IBM or Google or whatever to create a more consistent, motivated workforce, because if they are there and they want to be there, they really make the clients very happy because you'd like to be recognized and see a similar person and so forth. So I've tried to turn that on its ear. And with compensation at the very beginning, I was a bit ridiculous to them. So I gave everyone, after Wall Street pay, I gave them whatever they wanted, you know. So if someone says, oh, so-and-so is upset, they want to go to 52 from 50, I go, give them 100. You know, I was an idiot. I go, give them, what? Rounding error, you know, just pay the people. Why are we talking about this, you know? But then you start to see, is you got to manage your margins and you got to manage your labor cost. And so I had to your question, Arun, adjust to the metrics and the realities and the ratios. But doesn't mean we couldn't move the money around. It doesn't mean we couldn't differentiate performance, you know, because a lot of the people in the restaurant business, it's all peanut butter. You give everyone the same, you treat everyone the same. So you cannot let excellence percolate to the top, because the leadership also is not complex enough to see that. They may not have come from other backgrounds to see that if you have a differentiated player or a person, or God forbid, someone who's more junior, who has more potential, will become this person's boss. And so they might do everything they can to suppress this person. So I think the financial and executive background, putting a culture in the organization to allow excellence to come up. Yes, we can be more generous with pay in some places, but still I had to readjust myself, Arun, to the reality that certain ratios have to be met, because that's how this business runs. Right. And the reason why that's very important is even billionaires who come to our restaurants, and we're lucky to have celebrities and very important people in the world and so forth, they will not pay for a veal chop. Let's say a veal chop, sorry to pick on a veal chop in New York City, all right? No one will pay a number with an 8 in front of it, 80 something. Would you? No. If you ask any billionaire what they would pay for a veal chop, they'll probably say 60, 58, you know, so, and I see some nodding, you know, so it's around right. Well, that's why they're billionaires. They're not idiots. Okay, and so they know the price, and so suddenly the price is not your friend fully. You can't pass on that cost to the consumer, which brings us back to the efficiency of labor, which brings us back to differentiation, which brings us back to the Grey Goose story on product. You with me? Absolutely. Because and then when there's a stress period in the market, guess what? People want more value, and so then you have price compression. And the price compression then streams right back into your operation. And you can't say, well, we don't know how to handle it. We can't find our way. Hey, great idea. Let's add $10, $15 to every item. It can really turn people off. So you got to really say, okay, we can push there, but we got to be careful there. So it's a very long answer to labor, but it all comes together because of that. And I had to adjust and learn. Yes, we can be fair and differentiated and let performance win, but at the same time, there are limits. We're not going to go way out the market to a level where, you know, we are charlatans and have no fiduciary responsibility.
That was a masterclass, so I'm very excited. But I am going to pivot, given your position as the chair of the BU Trustees. There is a lot of interest in knowing what your thoughts are about the role of higher education in the society, and particularly the role of Boston University.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to be very clear in telling you that it's an honor, real honor, to be selected chair of Boston University Board of Trustees. And I also want to tell you that I took a long time to think about it. And they asked, you know, so it's not like I was out there with a car with a microphone, you know, trying to get the job or anything. And so when I was asked, you know, you start to think. And I went back and I looked at where I was in my life, where's the family, because I don't do anything unless it's 100%, 150%. If you want me to make a talk at SHA or SHA, as you say, it reminds me of the Shah of Iran or whatever, then I'll do it, and I'll do it right, or I'll do it the best I can. So I wanted to tell you, it took a lot of time to be able to step forward and dedicate my time and energy and all the experiences I've had in business and the entrepreneurial side to this. I went back also mentally to the story I regaled you with at the beginning, which is how I came here and how I was treated and how I was included, okay? And I want to tell you something about this school. You know, it has a soul, it has a heart. And when I was moving up the governance on the trustees, you know, some days ago, that took a lot of time and so forth, but I would say to myself, these are good people. They're trying to do something here. And so when this situation arose, I gave it a lot of thought and then found my own balance on it and said, okay, I can help, I think, and I'm going to give it my best shot. And so for BU as a whole, I think it's in an incredible position to, thanks to the leadership that's been here, to move to the next stage. I think the world still, and by the way, I'm still very engaged somehow through friendships or whatever in the world of business. And funny enough, food and beverage connects it all. We're all foodies. Everyone has an opinion on food. You do, they do, whatever. And can you believe I left finance, but every finance CEO is my client, okay? So if you want to talk Morgan Stanley this, you want to talk Goldman that, you know, they're all there, you know? And so you still have a conversation with people, and it helps keep my brain a little sharp. And people still look for academia and the beautiful research and effective research from academia to be a beacon for societal change. And I think that's a very important thing that people look for. And big organizations are not able, you know, they might have a research division for something very particular, you know, how can we spend time to make the camera of this iPhone better or whatever. But it's not about humanity. It's not about the breadth of the human ROI. And so I think BU has, and Boston has an incredible opportunity to take a more prominent space in that impact for society, for excellence, for the good of our world. And some of the things that the university is doing is really breaking edge. And one of the things, besides CDS and the buildings and all that you see, is the beauty of integrating horizontally the disciplines and allowing students to build their breadth. Because in the world that we're going to live in, and we live in today and where it's going, breadth is king more than depth, okay? And science has already shown People with mathematics skill also enjoy music and relate to it. And so guess what? BU is ready. It's been positioning and posturing that for so long to be able to create interdisciplinary experiences and avenues. And even, I see the Dean of Communications there. If you can't write, you can't be in any business. If you can't observe or communicate or create visual content, I'm telling you, half the Middle East only eats through Instagram. You don't even look at the menu, all of this is coming together. There's no such thing as I'm a vertical person walking life with that one hat on. It's multi hats. And so I think Boston is well positioned. I have to tell you, I really, really feel the best is yet to come. There's a platform for growth. We chose to be great, and now we got to decide and keep becoming great and being great. And it's going to be a harder journey, but it's going to be an excellence journey. And so that's what I feel. That's why I'm here.
That's just incredible. Now, if this was State of the Union, I would have been on my feet 10 times. So I know I have so many other questions I want to ask, but I know that there are some students waiting to ask questions. So I'm going to turn it back to Professor Lance so that she can get some Q&A from the audience.
For those of us who teach writing hub classes, thank you for acknowledging the importance of that skill too. Thank you. Thank you. We do have a few students who have questions for you, Ahmass.
Sure.
And I'm going to pass the microphone to get started here. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves when I hand you the microphone and to ask your question.
Hi, my name is Emma. I'm a junior here in SHA. My question is, under President Brown's direction, Boston University has gone through impressive transformational growth over the last 18 years. With great success achieved and ambitious plans still ahead of us, what are some of the key priorities for the near and long-term future?
Okay. Well, thank you for asking that question, Emma. I thought you were going to ask a tougher question, like, how to make a veal stock bouillon, or how to make light battered calamari. I think the future is very well articulated through the strategic plan that has been put together by Provost Jean and President Brown. And a lot of time was taken to consider the elements that could propel the university forward. I don't know if some of those elements are out for or available for you to read, but they have really important pivots. We weren't even a research university back in the 70s, so we've moved hugely up in that dynamic. The grants are in the 500-600 million range, which means you can start to do certain things. We are, investing more in the arts. We are broadening our capabilities, but the strategic plan talks to excellence in academia, boosting our research, being more global in how we think and operate, and moves down those elements. And I think it was important to take stock of the fact that we were at a juncture for another view forward. And I think most of the strategic plan accomplishes that. And you should have a look at it. You probably have, but you should have a look at it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dongwan, and I'm a junior in SHA. My question is, what inspires you to invest your time, effort, and resources in BU?
Well, I think some of it was what I mentioned. There's a care for the place. I'm excited about the future and the change. I like meeting, the deans, and there'll be more of that over time. I think it has an incredible, if we get some of these pieces right and pay attention in a couple of areas, I think there is a surprise element coming in terms of our capability. I'm also frankly very energized by the students that I do have a chance to meet. And I'm really looking forward, once we settle down, over the whole governance side to meet more of the client, if I can call you that, the students. And, that makes me want to invest a bit more of my time. And I'll tell you something that's a tad naughty, and I don't know if I should say it, but I've hired, I told you I'm afraid of her, okay? I have hired a lot of individuals from Harvard, okay, over my life. And some have been totally excellent, plus, okay? But many have also been, they're like child stars, in a movie, where I went to Harvard. Well, you're not 18 anymore, okay? So like, that's their whole life was getting into that school, okay? The BU graduate wants to go somewhere. The BU graduate is going to be someone great. The BU graduate is going to fight like I did. And that's who's going to win ultimately. Yes, you need networks and connections and all that, but I find that interesting. So why do I invest because I think this could win. And I'm very competitive. But in the right way, with the right thought, with the right, capabilities and strategic and tactical content. But I wanted to say, I know there's 2 people across the river, okay? But I don't know about you. I don't wake up and shower every morning to be number 2 or to be number 3. That's not my history. But I think the graduate from here has a bit of heart, has done different things, may have had different experiences, and they have the badge, but the honor is to win for the badge, not to have the stamp. That's why I get into it. In addition to what are we fixing, how do we have more penetration in good research in the arts, in other areas of the school.
Hello, this is Shambhavi. I'm a graduate student. First, I want to thank you. It was a really insightful session. My question is, what advice for aspiring entrepreneurs and business leaders would you give an additional guidance to someone who's striving to make a mark within the hospitality industry?
Yes, it's a good question on making a mark in hospitality and what guidance. First of all, if I can loop all these good questions, if I can loop the previous discussions we had with Arun's question, I think it's really, and I said the word breadth a couple of times, I think it's very important if you're able to embellish a hospitality direction with knowledge about the financial side, with knowledge about the other business elements, the real estate side, whatever. If you want to open a hotel or a restaurant or be an executive in one of those institutions, you're going to have to know, no one's going to invest in you if you don't have a proper business plan, okay? It's not going to be taste this, and then they give you a check. They want to know that should they put their money with Apple or with you, okay? Money is weird that way. It's not emotional. It wants to make more of itself, and so please learn these other things, build your breadth. And the other thing is marketing. It's in a world where the marketing element has become so important. How do you create messaging? How do you create visual allure? How do you make someone choose you versus someone else? What is your social media strategy? I spend hours. By the way, I was not even looking at Instagram 3-4 years ago. Okay, I go, please don't bother. I can't take anymore. I have WeChat, WhatsApp, email, all over the world. But they did an intervention on me. They said, okay, you got to focus. You need to focus, and I started to focus on it. Okay, so I've become a film producer. Okay, let's do a film of this and this. So please, did I mention the word food yet? No. Back to real estate and finance and marketing. So please look at these things, please. And then the other thing I was going to tell you is be yourself. And don't try to be something you're not or fit into what people want you to say or be, if that can make any sense. And if we have time, I'm just going to say a very quick anecdote. When we opened our business, got very lucky with awards at the beginning, and I thought the business was easier than I thought, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, celebrities come, everyone likes us, we're making money. And then of course the toilets were flooding and a whole bunch of other things, start realities of the business. But we got approached because of some awards by a very swanky, high-end, trendy PR firm, and PR/marketing, more PR, I would say. And they wanted us to sign up with them, and like we were now worthy as new startup of their time. And so we went to their offices, about 4 of us, and everything in there was turquoise wall. I don't know how they got turquoise M&Ms, okay? Turquoise M&Ms, they must have special edition, I don't know, or they painted them, I don't know. And we sat in these chairs, like massage chairs in an airport, you know, very reclined, and we're all wiggling. And then the ceiling had like clouds moving, you know, they painted the ceiling, and they had like a video of clouds moving, so you could all feel it, you know. And they told us how we're gonna be magical and we're gonna move in there. And it was a very kind of psychedelic outing, you know. And we all left like kind of stunned and go, wow, that was unbelievable. They were in the car going back to our loft headquarters down in Soho. And everyone was like, that was really chill, that was really amazing, cool, blah, blah, blah. And then there was silence in the car. And after 15 minutes, everyone was like, what the blank was this happened here? And it was not us. They didn't understand our product. They didn't understand what we're doing. And we wanted to be with them. We wanted to be considered by them. But there was nothing that understood our DNA. And so take good advice, I would tell you. Take advice from those you trust and who have already a good record of giving you advice. I hate to say the bad word, it could even be your parents, you know. But find your own core. You will never be a CEO or head of a business if you can't make the tough call. And I don't hire anyone who has never failed, because it's coming then, and it's gonna come on my watch. I wanna know that they regrouped from adversity. So I would say the real estate piece, the marketing piece, please, and the financial piece with the product that you know, and find your own core, and remember that the EQ more than the IQ will win you ultimately. That's what I would say.
Are you game for one more student question?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Miyu?
Hello. Hello, my name is Miyu Nakajima, and I'm a junior at SHA. And first of all, thank you for coming in today. Your international experience in the background really resonated with me as an international student. And my question is, as the founder of a large hospitality group, what is your go-to restaurant in Boston?
Wow, okay. First of all, I was last night at Facia, and the lead dish there is the pakeri, okay? I love Contessa for a drink, and I know the major food group really well, Jeff Zelaznik and Mario Carbone, and owners know each other. I think it's one of the breakout room in Boston. If you haven't been, go to the roof, just have a drink. The food is decent, but I think the room, I like Moo for steak. I think Abe and Louie is pretty good, even though a bit more traditional. I can go on and on. Zuma's good, but way overpriced. You know, is that good enough? Okay. Anyone else? I want to thank you for your time. Your time is as valuable as mine, and I wish you the best. And I gave it all up to try doing something else that's entrepreneurial. By the way, it's harder some days in Wall Street. COVID set us back, so we had to fight like you don't know again. But we're here, and I'm still in it to win it. For Boston, I'm all in. I'll do everything I can. The board is very engaged, excited to unravel their own potential, and we're just starting our journey.
If I could just conclude, Ahmass, with just a